Oh, yeah.
before this.
All righty. Well, I'll call this meeting to order at 8:30, 8:33. Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll.
Yes, Commissioner Arnridge. Commissioner Fideli.
Here.
Commissioner Nowak.
Here.
Vice Chair Sauce. And Chair Hernandez-Thorpe.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Is this where we do the recording?
This meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar to allow for public participation and comments. The Contra Costa Transportation Authority does not condone hate speech in any form. We continually strive to make life better for all members of our community and create an atmosphere where everyone feels a sense of safety and belonging. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak does so with civility, respect, and kindness for others. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organizations, but providing such information is voluntary. Citizens participating in person wishing to speak should submit a public speaker card to the clerk. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice on the meeting agenda will be provided to the members. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand in Zoom or submit a public speaker card, and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
All right, thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we'll go to public comments. Do we have any public comments via Zoom?
I've received no public comments.
Any public comments in the room? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, election. And so I believe we'll be electing a new chair and vice chair for 2024.
And do both have to be here for the nomination? I want to do a double dose, a double nomination if I can. I'd like to nominate Renata Sauce for chair and our birthday girl, Sue Nowak, for vice chair as her gift. That's in there.
That's the nicest gift I'm going to
Thank you. Well, that's right. You've got to let us know ahead of time, and then we'll really.
All right, there is a motion for Commissioner Sauce and Commissioner Nowak for chair and vice chair respectively. Are there any public comments? All right, if there are no public comments,
Second.
Yeah, second.
oh, I will second that motion. I will second the motion. Madam Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Commissioner Arnridge. Commissioner Fideli.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowak.
Yes?
Commissioner Sauce. And Chair Hernandez-Thorpe.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously with the members present.
Okay. We move on to item 4, consent calendar. Any items to discuss? All right, seeing no items, is there a motion?
I'll move the item.
All right, there's a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Nowak and seconded by Commissioner Fideli. Madam Clerk. Oh, do we okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
I didn't want to just stop you.
I don't know, the thing said keep going.
But you're showing your age, too.
Yes. A whopping 42.
I can do the roll call, though, if you'd like.
Yes, we'll finish the roll call and then we'll switch over.
Commissioner Fideli,
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez-Thorpe,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Nowak.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, thank you. I can probably do it without the,
No, it's very important that you hit it really hard.
I didn't see you hit it when we started the meeting.
I did hit it.
Oh, did you? All right.
Twice.
Oh, all right, sorry. All right.
But
we-
as an Aries, you were just so engulfed in yourself. You decided to just
You would know,
ignore
right?
the. Yes.
This is rapidly losing control here. Okay, I'm not off to a good start. We'll go on to item 5, regular agenda items. I'm doing this because Renata is not here. Item A is legislative update. Lindy.
Good morning, Vice Chair and Commissioners. I'm excited to introduce Mark Watts, who's here to provide us with a state legislative update. He'll also be reviewing our bill matrix, which provides position recommendations, oppose, support, work with author, and monitor. He'll be going over some of those. There's also some fact sheets in front of you for some of those bills where the author had them available. This is just further context. They're also available for the public in the back. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here, and I just want to make a quick note why I always feel so comfortable here is because I too am an Aries, April 12th, so.
Anybody else? Anybody else? No? Really?
We're gonna take a picture at the end.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Let's all go out for pizza afterwards. The Aries.
Well, today I've got a short report on a couple of items, some breaking news on the budget, and then I'll move on into the matrix. So first, this week, I keep thinking it's been a while back, but it was actually on Tuesday, the Assembly leadership announced that they had agreed with a portion of the governor's early budget action items to address the state budget deficiency. And it looks like they're going to collectively eliminate $17 billion if this were to be accepted by the Senate and adopted. $17 billion in early legislative actions. Unfortunately, among the spending cuts, delays, and deferrals is an expected delay of $1 billion from the $2 billion formulaic portion of the Transit and Intercity Rail program. So that's on the table. We had hoped it wouldn't be, but it's on the table. But so far, it's just represented by the Assembly leadership concurrence with the governor's proposal. We still are working to see where the Senate may turn to on that. So it means the transit agencies and public RTPAs and MPOs will need to get busy in the next week or two to try to return that around. Beyond that, we are pleased to note that the governor reappointed outgoing chair Leanne Eager to the California Transportation Commission. So that was a welcome action. It's been since February wondering who was going to be taking that slot. So that's really, really a good move for the governor. And last thing, I would just point out that the 2024 TIRCP grant cycle, where they will have projects starting to be programmed for the 24-5 fiscal year, the guidelines have been drafted and made available for comment. And the comment period is in a month or two, and I think that's an important feature so that we can now have something to point to as to what the effect of the deferral of the TIRCP general fund money would have on the guidelines. So with that, if there are any questions, I'll turn to the matrix.
Mark, is that a deferral till when, or just who knows when?
The governor's deferral was over a couple years.
Okay, thanks.
So in the matrix, you'll see a number of positions where the staff has recommended work with author or monitor. I'm going to deal with specifically the ones that either are oppose or support, because those are the highest interest issues immediately before you. So the first one is AB 2286, which is a replay of Assemblymember Aguirre Curry's bill from last year that was ultimately vetoed. It deals with the prohibition against vehicles larger than 10,000 pounds, basically trucks and buses. If they are autonomous vehicles without a live person as a safety feature in the operation of that vehicle. So the industry was very strong in opposing this last year. The effect it would have potentially here is it would eliminate pretty much a source of interested partners in the Gomentum Station testing facility, because I think the large truck folks would, if the bill were enacted, not be very interested in working in California at that point. The next opposed bill we're recommending is AB 2535, and that deals with the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program. The bill is set on April 15th in Assembly Trans. The bill actually lays out a pattern where they are calling for no capacity improvements in conjunction with trade corridor projects. And so, and it goes further than that, but that's the main point of opposition that we're recommending. There is, at some point, you do need some capacity enhancements, whether they're for safety purposes or others, and particularly within a trade corridor project. Two support bills would be SB 768 by Senator Caballero. It passed the Senate this last month or two, is in the Assembly, but has not been set yet. And this bill calls for ARB and others to perform a study of the effects of VMT reduction policies within CEQA, so that the legislature can take a look at whether it's working the way it was intended when it was adopted or passed in law in 2012 and adopted by the Office of Planning and Research a few years back, or whether it needs some, whether the study will show it needs some improvements or changes or modifications. The other measure of support is SB 827 by Senator Glazer, and this one provides some additional clarification in the Inspector General role for BART. And it also allows more clean, more appropriate access to records for the Inspector General. So that's and besides the fact that the senator is local, it seems like it's good policy, but that's something we're recommending. I would point out that even though SB 915 is recommended as work with author at this point in time, it deals with a local government having some strong say-so in the operation of autonomous vehicles within their jurisdictions. So it goes beyond just having the state PUC and the state DMV saying, yes, you can go. If an autonomous vehicle has been given the go-ahead under this bill, they would have to get permission under a plan adopted by a city or a county. So with that, I'll draw it to a close, and I hope I brought a pen in case there's a lot of questions.
Questions?
Can I add one thing quickly? I just wanted to add that 1031 is on there as a monitor. That's the bill that we're working quite closely on, the regional transportation measure. We're leaving it as a monitor at this time because there's just a lot of moving parts and a lot changing. And so we're just not at a point to recommend a position, but we do anticipate seeing this come back.
You want to say something on 1031? Or do you want me to say something
No,
on
I
1031?
can say a few things. So just maybe to elaborate on SB 1031, the current state of the bill, and we're anticipating some future amendments fairly soon, but at least the current state of the bill is basically four big pieces, which basically calls for a consolidation study of all the 27 trans operators in the Bay Area, and it is being commissioned or required to be done by the state, not by MTC or at the local level. So it specifically highlights it being performed by a research institute. So we're anticipating it would be done by, say, like an organization like Mineta Transportation Institute or something like that that would do the study. based on our experience, a study like that could probably cost tens of millions of dollars to do. And I think a big component of this is, of a consolidation, is going to be obviously a big component that's going to be labor, right? And labor cost, and labor cost being the common denominator across the entire Bay Area. And then the second piece to this measure is the regional network management piece. So this is giving MTC the additional authorities, you know, to be able to carry out any recommendations from a study, right, from that study. So, and so we're anticipating, and it's not really clear in the legislation at this point, but we're anticipating that if the study does get completed, that it would then be carried out either by MTC or the state, and that's not as clear in terms of implementation. And then the other piece of regional network management is going to be the ability to be able to really determine where funding flows and all those types of things as well in terms of the measure. So the third element of the bill is actually an employer TDM requirement, which will require any employer over 50 employees to purchase a Bay Pass, which is essentially a transit card for their employees to incentivize them to take transit. And so that's the third element. And then the fourth element is the actual revenue measure piece that would be in 2026, anticipated in 2026. The measure piece is something obviously that we're really focused on. There's a lot of discussion right now in terms of what that's going to look like, what the framework's going to look like, what the revenue generation is going to be, whether that be, you know, sales tax or property tax, and then also as part of that, because there's a pretty significant operational piece to it, they're not anticipating using ACA 1 to be able to pass that bill, because ACA 1 does not allow for operational funding under that authority, and so you will have to do a supermajority in terms of 67% to be able to get SB 1031 passed. And something I think that's really interesting about this bill, because there's a lot of moving parts, it's about a 40-page bill, is that the first three components of the bill, so like the regional network management, the study, as well as I guess those two components of the bill, yeah, not the other three, but those two components of the bill, if 1031 passes, those two things proceed, right? So the MTC authorities are then enacted, and then also the first part, which is the consolidation study, would move forward. So it's kind of a two-stage process where if 1031 gets signed, those first two pieces move forward, and then the second piece would be the revenue measure, in 2026. So those are kind of the four elements to 1031 right now. And obviously, Commissioner Nowak, our MTC commissioner, has been actively engaged with MTC on this. And then obviously our staff here has been actively engaged with MTC staff on this as well to better understand exactly what the framework of the revenue piece is going to be. And then we've also been meeting with our transit operators here in Contra Costa County to discuss any proposed amendments. And my understanding is the large operators and the small operators have been actively engaged with MTC, and they're trying to come to an agreement on some of the proposed amendments to the consolidation piece of the bill. So I don't know if Commissioner Nowak, you want to add anything?
Yeah, just to add on to that piece, that the wording is obviously being massaged on the consolidation piece of it. It's a study, and then there's some wording discussing what has to happen once the study is done as far as implementation, and that's the piece that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that piece. The regional network management piece is an important piece from MTC's perspective to put in place right away so that some changes can be made to make it evident to the public that actually transformation is going to occur in the transportation world. So that was intentionally put in there for that purpose. I'm just going to add on the TDM note, that is meant to be with employers with 50 or more close to transit. So it's not all employees, they have to be close to transit. But there is a ton of work to be done. That's why I have a Zoom meeting at 4 o'clock today on this. And MTC is supposed to be the sponsor of the bill, but the whole addition of this consolidation study was not what MTC was anticipating. And so there's a lot of work to be done on MTC's part as theoretical sponsor of the bill. And we expect there'll be a lot of changes going forward. So, yeah, Paul.
Yeah, and just to highlight and add that there will be, in the bill proposes authorization for expenditures on four categories: transit transformation, safe streets improvements, which includes equity, safety, climate goals, connectivity, they call it there, and not the other, and then climate resilience. So there are those categories that can be expected for funding to come, right? For the
Well, those have always been sort of the four focus coming out of the Blue Ribbon
Right.
Task Force as far as transit transformation. What's been discussed at this point is a minimum for transit, because obviously the most immediate need is addressing the fiscal cliff, and that sort of calculated around 600 million. The dollar size of the measure has not been decided yet either. You know, $1 billion, $1.5 billion, $2 billion, something. So it hasn't been decided. But about 600 million addresses the fiscal cliff. And so then it's how much more can go to transit transformation regionally, how much might return to source, which is an important piece certainly for Contra Costa County, how much actually gets returned to Contra Costa and to individual counties. That is all still up in the works, up in the air, since I think it was McGuire that insisted on a 750 minimum for transit and transit transformation. So 750, yeah, 750 million. And so if it's $1 billion measure, that doesn't leave a lot for 9 counties to do these other things. So those pieces are still being discussed and how they'll factor into all 4 of those pieces. Other questions?
No, I've had comments and it wouldn't be good, so I'll just wait.
Okay.
I will wait till it gets to this point.
Oh.
For all the work.
Yeah, great. Okay. Any other questions of Mark?
Before I go, I just want to thank Lindy for bringing 1031 on the table. It was next on my list, and I neglected to bring it up, so I really appreciate it.
Hey, Mark, I did have one question. There was, you made a comment about a no capacity addition in the trade corridors being in one of the bills.
Right.
That's obviously a piece of discussion in 1031 as well, as what can be the funds. Do you get a sense that that's a trend of, is there a lot of support for this kind of no capacity expansions?
Yeah, in the last session, there were probably 3 or 4 bills chipping away at the capacity issue. And there's a building force, but in that direction. The laborers and contracting industry have been able to shut those down.
Yep.
I wonder how they're going to deal with the language I've read in 1031, because I don't think anybody wants to be a spoiler to the overall effort, but once you let that kind of capacity issue go without a lot of thought and effort and maybe more analysis than has been done, I worry that there could be some cross purposes there, and I'm keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, can I just add on that? I think, we didn't go through all of these, and we didn't go through the work with author ones, but, as Mark mentioned, there's basically you've got SB1 funding, right, which is the transportation funding, and there's a number of programs in there, right, and there's been, and Mark was actually instrumental in kind of writing some of this language in terms of kind of protecting it, right, and making sure that it doesn't get used in other things, right, and so what's been happening, and this is not the first time, it's been going on for several years now, and, AB 6 and 7, as well as, I think it's 2086 as well.
Yes.
Where the legislature is trying to penetrate and trying to direct how those SB funds get used in the future, right? And so I think the bill that we're recommending oppose the Bonta bill 2535 is an example of that, where Trade Corridor Enhancement Program is an SB1 funding program, where this bill is trying to direct those funds to other things, right? And so we're trying to really work together, you know, all the Self-Help County coalitions really kind of work together to help continue to protect those SB1 funds and be able to use them for the projects that are basically in all of our expenditure plans across the state. So there's been multiple attempts, there will be continued multiple attempts, but I know Mark and a lot of very core people in Sacramento have been working really hard to continue to protect those SB1 dollars.
Yeah. And I know it's a big discussion topic at MTC as well about this bill too. It's a little bit more lopsided on number of people supporting expansion versus non, but there's still quite a discussion there. Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Oh, Paul, you had.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I wanted to thank Tim and Lindy for, there was some discussion about SB 915 and having, on our grid, having worked with the author and being flexible, but on the actual analysis saying we opposed it. And I appreciate the explanation. I just wanted to raise a little concern because I used to be the principal consultant on a committee for a decade up there that had oversight of PUC and transit safety, as Mark knows, and also government affairs, head of government affairs at BART, that I'm concerned how that might get out to a new chair and a bill that he cares about, that we oppose it right out of the gate. I think there's lots of places where we can come up with suggestions to make this bill better, and I'm just concerned that before the board actually voted or had information about it, we were listed as opposed. So I'm hopeful that the board will have a vote on this and talk about it, and we actually, as you know, Mark, need to get a letter to the chair to say why we are opposed to something. I don't know who Avia is. I don't know who they are, but we are the board, and we need to say that we are in charge, and this is our direction to the chair and the bill. So I just want to fine-tune this and make sure that we're on target on this, because that's a big mistake in my view.
Yeah, no.
Who is Avia?
Yeah, so I can maybe fill in the gaps here. So Avia is the Autonomous Vehicle Industry Association. Yeah. So they are the kind of private, I'll say, consortium of the autonomous vehicle industry, right? And so they, so we've been talking a lot with them about the bill. In terms of, you know, their position of opposed, and I think there was some confusion on whether, because we have been working as part of the Avia coalition to oppose AB 316 last year, right? And so they're also actively opposing AB 2286, right? So because that's another version of AB 316 from the commercial vehicle standpoint. So I think there was confusion between basically 2286, the 915 bill, and so we cleared all that up with Avia. They are removing ourselves from oppose on 915.
And we shouldn't give to an industry group authority to say.
Right. No, they usually, there was a mistake. They usually will. And they admitted to it, but they usually will request us, you know, to do an active. And so, to your point, Paul, we do not take a position on any bill without the vote of the full authority. And so, just want to make sure we clear up that process. And so, so it was a good catch on Lindy's part when we were all preparing for this meeting that we saw that, and so we cleaned it up right away with Avia.
Yeah, and I just.
My apologies.
Well, and as we said, you know, 915 is a safety bill. Safety is one of the concepts in 1031. It's going to be a year of talking about safety, talking about how to refund transportation issues. And it's not just business groups. We've got to get people to vote for a bond measure. And, you know, the riders, the consumers, the folks that care about what we do. And we can't just be associated with industry groups. We've got to be associated with the riders as well. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you very much.
Anything else? No? Okay, thank you, Mark. Lindy, do we have?
Yeah.
Oh, there's Gus.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to introduce Gus Maples of Ty Ginsburg & Associates to provide us with our federal update. Thank you, Gus.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'd like to start off with congratulations to the CCTA team. As is public now, There's a recent SMART grant award announced by the U.S. Department of Transportation. The board chair and vice chair got to town a couple of weeks ago and immediately started shaking people down in our meetings. So that was some good news to start out the week. Recap of that recent fly-in, I'd like to go over. We did have meetings with the Federal Transit Administrator, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administrator, and a couple other top officials on Secretary Buttigieg's team at the Department of Transportation. This included his research and technology staff, who actually were involved in setting up and administering that SMART grant, among a couple of other funding opportunities. Everyone we met with is well versed in CCTA's work. We had good conversations, updating them on projects, administering some of the grants that have already been awarded in the past, and discussing some future opportunities also. We also had some informative discussion and conversation with the Build America Bureau on project financing. And of course, we met with our local representatives, Congressman DeSaulnier and John Garamendi as well. Also had an introductory meeting with Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois. He's actually the top Democrat on the House Transportation Appropriations Subcommittee. So the earmark project funding request will ultimately be flowing through him. This was a good introduction while the team was in town. And building on that point, we're looking into the new federal appropriation cycle, working with Lindy on a couple of project requests and also some programmatic funding requests that will hopefully show the support necessary for some of these national level programs that CCTA actually benefits from, and continue its ongoing work as a branding exercise leader in this space. This is building off of our larger strategy process. The DC trip was a key first step to discuss and propose some ideas with our congressional members, who will ultimately be picking from a limited number up to 15 projects total to propose to the appropriators. Out of that amount, the Appropriations Committee leadership will work within budget caps to decide how much funding goes into which projects. We're submitting this technical information now in an ongoing process and continue to work with the staffs, answering any questions and follow-ups of that nature. I also alluded to the programmatic funding. This is broader programs similar to like RAISE or some of the popular, well-known big programs, making sure that our delegation understands, in addition to those big names like the SMART grants and things, that CCTA can directly access and benefit from, make sure there's funding in these pots as well. We wrapped up this round of kind of spring advocacy with a virtual call, actually, with the US DOT Undersecretary for Policy, Carlos Monje. He's very interested in the innovative work going on for infrastructure delivery, as well as development of automated vehicle technology, and continue to follow up with his staff on those conversations as well. So all in all, very productive meetings last month. We're building on the momentum to get requests in for some funding for projects, and we'll continue to monitor that as the bills get actually drafted over the coming months in the spring and early summer. That is my recap for now, but happy to answer any questions on this or others.
Thanks, Gus. Any questions? No? Peaceful on the federal front from here. Thanks, Gus.
Thank you.
Okay. Lindy, anything else?
No, that concludes. Thank you. I do think we want to move forward the bill matrix to the board. Does that mean take an action?
Oh, we have to
there?
take an action. So used to not take an action on the legislature. Okay. I'm looking for.
I would move that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Fideli, second from Arnrich. May we have the roll call vote, please? Oh, public comment?
I've received no public comment.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Arnrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Fideli,
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez-Thorpe,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Noack.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Item B is project and program management services for the construction program, authorization to execute agreement number 693 with Zune Engineering to provide PPM services. Ivan.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and board members. Ivan Ramirez, Director of Construction. And this is an action item. Back in December 23 meeting, the authority approved the release of proposal 23-6, which authorize or allow us to seek proposals from engineering firms to provide construction support services. We're heavily dependent on consultants. There's only myself directly as an authority staff member manages the construction program, so we rely very heavily on the consultants. And as part of that release, we received 3 proposals. One was from Zone Engineering, one was from Coal Management Engineering, who is the incumbent, and 3D Built. As part of the process, we held interviews for all 3 firms on March 5th. And in the panel, it was myself, and it was the other 2 directors that are not here, which are Stephanie Hugh and Hisham Noemi. And as part of that selection process, we selected Zoo Engineering. One of the things about this proposal and how the authority is moving forward is like we've been primarily doing heavy civil work in the state highway system. But as you know, we're moving more into helping our local partners, doing some of the technology works like mobility hubs, safe streets for all, coordinated ramp metering, and so forth. So some of this expertise we solicited, and Zoom, again, came ahead with those expertise. The criteria was based, as shown in the staff report, was based on qualifications, related experience, and references, proposed staffing and project organization, and how they intend to approach managing the program. The contract is going to be a little over 5 years. It's going to expire in 2029, but we seek to immediately bring him on board to begin that transition, again, because CME has been here for quite a few years. So we want to begin that transition right away so that when CME's contract expires at the end of June, we'll be full steam ahead with the new team. And lastly, the value of this contract is $4 million over a little bit over 5 years in time. And with that, I seek your approval to move this to the full board for their approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yes, Ivan, thank you for this. Obviously, we haven't worked with Zune before.
We have not.
Yeah, and absolutely trust you. What just verbally, what were the things that you said, wow, this is the company we want to work with? You mentioned some of the technology things, and their focus appears to be a little different than other engineering companies. Is there a particular staff or anything that you've met that will be working with us or share anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So the project manager, his name is Saeed. I have known Saeed for well over a long time, put it that way. Back from when I was working at the west approach of the Bay Bridge, the retrofit, he and I were intimately involved. In fact, when I left to work on the Devil's Slide, he kind of took over my role. At the time, he was a Caltrans employee. So so I have known him for a long time. He's worked all over the Bay Area. Zoom Engineering has a lot of depth. They have 35 employees as opposed to other firms that propose that have minimum staff. So I think that wealth and depth of experience was considered by the staff as their selection. And I think also that there was during the interview, certainly the hunger, the need, the want to come in and do the type of work that we're doing showed during the interview process. It was demonstrated. So again, the selection committee was very happy and comfortable selecting them.
That's great. That's an enthusiastic support. More than willing to recommend we move this forward.
Are there termination clauses in the contract to the extent when we're changing, just to make sure they're performing as we expect?
Yeah, all contracts contain such a language, but in addition to that, I think now under the leadership team, now we're also going to have yearly reviews to make sure that we're keeping on track, right? There's things that need to be improved upon, then we're gonna be able to discuss it. So there's gonna be a transparent, evaluation with them on a yearly basis, so yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? No? Public comment?
We've received no public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Arnrich, I guess. Second from Hernandez Thorpe. We have the roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Arnrich? Commissioner Fidelli?
Aye.
Commissioner Hernandez Thorpe?
Aye.
Vice Chair Noack?
Yes?
All right, the motion passes unanimously.
Great, okay. Correspondence and communications, don't think we had any. Commissioner and staff comments, chair comments, I don't have any, as I wasn't really prepared to chair this meeting, so.
Can I make, I just wanted to thank Tim and Lindy and the whole team for the great Legacy Award event that we were at. It was great, it was wonderful, great to be applauded. I wanted to hear what you had to say, and they shortcut.
We didn't get to talk.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff to say.
I don't understand.
No,
We were
everyone
first.
else got to talk.
We were
not-
first.
Not the Legacy.
Yeah, they were sort of like,
Okay,
nope,
right.
that's it, cut them off.
But
No,
it
we did have a beautiful video that was
Yeah,
at the
that's right.
beginning, and we were the only agency or entity that were allowed to have this in-depth interview with Tim and staff that was presented as part of it. So it was really, if you ever have a chance to go to this event, going to that venue was really a cool place.
Okay. Tim, any comments?
Just a quick update on Gomentum Station. So,
It's never quick, but.
no, so as of, just want to report out, as of Monday, we are operating Gomentum Station as CCTA and Next Generation Mobility. So AAA is completely phased out, and so we're in the process of transferring all the assets, over to CCTA and Next Generation Mobility. So there's still some little details that still need to be worked out, but I want to say that there was a good seamless, there's a few hiccups, but there always is, but pretty seamless transition on Monday in terms of the operation. So all the partners that have been testing out there have continued to testing out there with basically no interruption to their work. So it's been really good. Thank you to the board. Thank you to all the staff that's been working on this. It's put a huge effort, huge lift, and I know there's still some things to work out, but just wanted to report out on the success of that this week.
Well, it's great, and I want to add my thanks, because there was a lot of work that had to be done in a fairly short period of time, and so I just want to congratulate everybody on the whole process and getting that accomplished, and thank AAA for their time on Gomentum, and I'm glad it was a smooth transition, so thank you.
Yeah, just on that note, we did send a really nice kind of partnership letter that Newell signed over to AAA, kind of as a close to our partnership.
Highlighting my 53-year member, 49-year member, 55-year membership, yes.
I haven't looked at mine, I know it's long
Yeah.
too, but I don't think that long. Okay, any other business? And with that, we will adjourn, thank
Great.
you. What happened to my song, Brian? You were supposed to sing.
Happy birthday
just
to you. Oh, Italian you said.
Recording
Buon
stopped.
compleanno a te. Buon